Is your TimeCutter not going perfectly straight while you're mowing or while you're driving? Here are 3 very helpful tips on how to adjust your tracking. It's super simple, guys. You have these tools in your garage and you can do it.
All right, let's just track this thing.
Okay, first things first. I get a lot of people saying, my handles aren't even. Like this is an example of uneven handles. The first step to getting even handles are these knobs right here. And if you have an older model, you might not have these knobs. You're gonna have 2 bolts. They're 9/16, you can loosen them. That's a slotted bar there. You can move it around. On this, it has these cast iron pieces, has this nice adjustable knob. I can loosen it up. I push them all the way forward. I loosen the nut here, and then I adjust so that they're even while checking that it's bottomed out on the frame on both sides. Now that they're lined up, I tighten it back up. And these teeth just kind of self-align. That's the best way. I bottom it out on the frame forward, I make sure they're all lined up, and then I tighten them up. Now my handles are even. A common misconception though is that when you drive your mower, that you're gonna be pushing them all the way against the frame at all time. When you're mowing, you're kind of floating your arms in the middle in a happy space. You're not necessarily just pegging it out. No mower is gonna track perfectly straight. Some people like to take a lot of right-hand turns. Some people like to take a lot of left-hand turns. Maybe you're a righty, maybe you're a lefty, maybe your lawn's set up in a certain way where you're gonna take more turns one way or the other. And as these transmissions wear in, you're gonna notice one side is faster than the other. So it's good to know how to adjust little tiny tweaks in your system, but most of the tweaking you're gonna be doing, guys, is just in the way you steer, just in your shoulders and how you hold the handles. Don't be one of those people who peg it out and it has a slight turn to it and say, man, this thing doesn't track right. Just steer a little better, steer right. If it's turning left a little bit, just pull back on your stick a little bit on the right side. It's gonna be impossible. If you're seeking perfection and zero turn tracking, you're never gonna find it. It's all in your operating skills. But let's see what we can do to get it as close as possible to perfect, okay? So first thing is getting your handles lined up. The other adjustment is if you are the kind of person who only will drive with their sticks all the way bottomed out, focus on one lever. Focus on either your right or left lever. Either I focus on my faster lever and I'll slow it down, or I focus on my slower lever and I'll speed it up. But in this case, if I'm having a tracking issue and they're already bottomed out, all I can really do is slow down one side because I'm already giving it max speed on both sides. If it's turning left, it means your right side's too fast. If it's turning right, it means your left side's too fast. And the way you fix that is by slowing down the side that is too fast, right? To slow down my right side, I'm gonna insert my little Allen tool here and I'm gonna tighten it, so righty-tighty. And by tightening it, I'm basically sending a bolt into the frame that's gonna press against this piece of my lever here, and it's gonna limit how far it can go forward. So if you look here, I'm gonna tighten this up and you're gonna watch this creep backwards away from the frame as I tighten it. You'll watch my lever creates a very small gap. With every turn I make, it's pushing it away from the frame. And it's basically gonna create some space here that when I push forward, this side is not going to go as far forward. And that will slow down my right side, helping me track straighter, right? I don't know if you guys have ever owned an RC car as a kid and had that little tracking bar on the bottom. And if it's going too fast one way, you gotta click, 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 track it back a little bit. Same thing here. That's a minor adjustment. That's something easy you guys can all do. This is an Allen wrench. It's a 3/16 and it goes in this hole here. But let's say you have them both bottomed out, max speed, because everybody wants speed. But it's still not tracking straight and you don't want to take any forward speed away. You can add a little more forward speed with the more advanced tracking adjustment in the rear. I would say this is something I'd maybe leave for your dealership. If you wanted to play with it, feel free, I'm gonna show you how to do it. But just know, anything you add to your forward speed is gonna take away from your reverse speed. So if I start adjusting my rear and I start cranking on this threaded rod and I give myself more forward speed, one, there's only so much I can give, and it's gonna maybe possibly wear out my transmissions a little faster, but also it's not going to go back very fast, and you need reverse. And guys, really, when you're driving forward, it has plenty of ground speed. You probably aren't going wide open throttle most of the time. You should always have it at wide open throttle, but you adjust your speed with your lever, not your throttle. I just wanna make sure we all know that as well. You need wide open throttle for your transmissions, for your deck speed, for all that stuff. It's super important for your charging system. Wide open throttle is how you should run these mowers. You're not babying it If you have it at 3/4 throttle, a lot of older guys will say, I always baby it, I only run at 3/4 throttle. You're actually breaking it. Don't do that. Let's see how you adjust it in the rear if you can't figure it out this way, okay? I'm gonna crank this back so this is back to factory. Okay, so in the rear, it's good to know and understand what this rod is doing and understand its position compared to your steering. So I'm gonna move my steering back and forward and you're gonna see how it moves. You move your lever back and forth, you try to understand which direction does what. I'm going forward right now, it's neutral, forward, neutral, forward. So if I want more forward, I have to be able to move this arm backward. And the way I move this arm backward is by loosening this nut. Because this is a threaded rod here, and these threads are holding it to this position. So if I want it to move further this way, which is further forward, I would have to loosen the nut. So I would put my wrench on here, and I would move it. I would loosen it a few turns, 1, 2, 3, okay, and then I would test it. But really, I'm changing how far this lever moves on this. You can also make like a little mark here with a pin and do it in correlation to this rod, and you can adjust this to see how much you've changed it. So guys, that's how you adjust your tracking on the new 2024 TimeCutter. You either can adjust your handles, you can adjust it here, or if God forbid you gotta adjust it all the way, you can adjust it from the rear. And guys, the first and best way to adjust your tracking is with your shoulders. Just roll them shoulders a little bit, and that's gonna go a long way, because these things, they're gonna adjust themselves over time. They're gonna break in. Don't try to adjust it, at least for the first 6 months, because it's just gonna change as you use it. Unless it's really bad and it's doing big turns, then obviously you can make some adjustments. Start with your handles, do that adjustment. This is a good secondary. Last, you can use the rear. If you have the older TimeCutter and you wanna see how to adjust it on that, we have another video over here. You can check that out. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, take it easy.